Hello everyone, thank you very much for having me here today. It's a delight to be here in Munich. So as you've just heard, I'm Sarah Hayes, I'm the engagement lead for Credo and I work with Connected Places Catapult. And I want to talk to you today about the journey from the report Data for the Public Good to the project Credo. So in these conferences, as we've heard already, we always come to these two questions. What is a digital twin and do I need one? And I'm hoping that in the course of my presentation, I'll be able to help answer those questions. But first, I would like to kick off with a short film which explains what Credo is all about.
Extreme weather events caused by climate change are on the rise. When we're not prepared for these events, the consequences are more serious. Failures occur across interconnected infrastructure networks, meaning power cuts, loss of communication services, and running water. This can severely impact people's everyday lives. And this is only going to become more of a problem in the future as these events become more common and more extreme. Ensuring that infrastructure is resilient to these events is critical.
The climate change resilience of infrastructure networks is a challenge that is not yet well understood and is one we need to address urgently. Asset owners really need to know who are they dependent on. It's really crucial both for the integrity of the assets, but also for the service you provide your customers. For example, a range of infrastructure providers, if one of them is affected, let's say, by flooding, and that maybe affects an electricity substation, and then that problem cascades to perhaps the water company that's using that electricity to run its plant and pump water, or perhaps the communications infrastructure that needs that electricity to run the communications network. Understanding these risks in advance and how we can mitigate them is key.
Credo is really useful for angling water to increase our understanding of infrastructure, interdependencies, and the future climatic impacts on our infrastructure. If you think about what's at the core of Credo, that's data. In reality, it's how we are sharing and using data with BT and UK power networks, and then actually integrating future climatic models and scenarios. So once you've got that data in a connected digital twin that Credo provides, it means that then we can start to visualise this data and use asset failure models.
Wider benefits we see here are increased collaboration across public and private sectors in terms of trying to address our adaptation priorities. So, I've talked a bit about what is a digital twin and why do I need one. The next question that always comes up is, how do I develop a digital twin? So I'd like to say a few words before I close about data sharing architectures. And the first point to make here is that developing a digital twin is a collaborative process. In Credo, we've worked together across different sectors, we've brought asset owners together, but we really have been working across industry, academia, and government. And in the first phase of Credo, we were under time pressure and we did what a lot of projects do, is that we took the data from the asset owners and we put it into one central database. Now that can be a good thing to do if you're under time pressure, you've got a data license, you've got to protect the confidentiality of the data, but there are a couple of problems with that approach. The first problem that we encountered is that we didn't have time to develop the right security authentication processes so that we could then share the insights back with the asset owners. Problem number one. And then the other problem that we found is that when we wanted to scale Credo to other data sets, to other asset owners, to transport, to other regions, we're going to have a problem with a central database. One central pot of data cannot grow to encompass the whole of the UK or Europe or the world. We need to think about another approach so that we can make it scalable. So what we did in the second phase was we started to experiment with and develop a distributed data sharing architecture. Now, in this distributed architecture, the asset owners are able to retain control over their own data. And what happens is the Credo digital twin accesses this data through a central node. It runs it through the models that we have, the probability models, the asset failure models, and then because we then had time to develop the right security authentication processes, we were then able to share the insights back with the asset owners. And then more crucially, because it's a distributed architecture, it's scalable so that we can start opening up to other users of Credo, but then also to other sectors. So where we want to go with this in the future is to bring in transport as well. We want to bring in other water companies, other energy networks, and also on the telecom side. So the idea with this distributed architecture is all about enabling scalability, but ensuring security at the same time. And this is all part of a bigger journey that I think we're all on here today, is this journey towards connected digital twins, where we can be sharing data seamlessly and securely across sectors. So not just the sectors I've talked about, but all sectors ultimately of the economy. And I think when we are developing a data sharing infrastructure, there are 3 levels that we really need to think about and we need to build and develop. So the first level there is around a trust framework, so thinking about the governance and legal aspects, so that I am willing to share my data. The next level there is around data preparation and standardization, and that's where a lot of the effort needs to be put into, so that I am ready to share my data. And then the third level there is around the data sharing itself. And I think that means using some sort of distributed architecture so that I'm actually sharing my data. But for me, what's important, while we start to build out this data sharing infrastructure across the UK, across Europe, internationally, we haven't got this infrastructure ready-made. We need to build it. And I think we need to share what we're doing in our different projects. So in Credo, we have experience and learnings from all of those different levels that we're very ready to share with other projects. And we're very keen to hear what others are doing in this space so that ultimately we can be building a data sharing infrastructure that really starts to harness the best of all the approaches. There is no perfect model here. I think we need to work together to develop this over time. And that's it. So in terms of sharing this progress, as I've mentioned before, the Digital Twin Hub is an online community for digital twin developers, and this is a great space for sharing our progress in developing these digital twins. It's an online community, it's an international community, so I'd really welcome you to get involved and to share your case studies. There's lots of case studies on there already, so please join that community. And thank you very much for listening today.